Welcome to the Friday Power Lunch, a weekly show amplifying the voices of the Virginia grassroots. Each week, we provide engaging conversations about politics, culture, and women making change. Produced by the unstoppable women of Network Nova, our motto is, when we vote, we win. The Friday Power Lunch is recorded before a live Zoom audience. Follow us on social media. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and show us some love and become a sponsor through Patreon. The Friday Power Lunch. Badass women getting things done.
I'm so excited. It's September 15th. Welcome to the Friday Power Lunch. I'm Catherine White, bringing you the guests, the issues, the actions, amplifying the voice of the grassroots to get shit done, and yes, to make politics fun. Yes, I did say that, didn't I? Okay, the theme today, engaging for change, making it doable and inspiring. And boy, do we have some guests to talk about that today. So I would love to bring up our first guest, Melissa Walker. She's the head of the Giving Circle Engagement at the States Project. And you're also a you author children's books.
Yes, I do. I have written 8 young adult novels and 2 middle grade novels. So I like to tell coming of age stories. And that's what I was doing with my career up until the fall of 2016.
Yeah, weren't we all doing something different? Like, I think there should be a huge book we can write about what impacted our whole lives after that particular election. I mean, that's how we got started too. So I just want to ask all our guests today, what inspires you? What has inspired you in your life, in general, to try to work together to protect democracy? Let's talk about inspiring. What inspires you?
To be honest, what has really inspired me, I mean, I grew up voting with my dad, going into the voting booth with him as a kid, always knowing that there was something that we needed to do and tend to year after year. It was a very important thing in my household. And to be honest, something that really inspired me after that fall of 2016 was finding something that felt incredibly strategic and incredibly impactful. I think a lot of things right after the Trump election, I just felt like I was running around just swirling. Should I tweet? Should I call Senator Schumer? Should I fax somebody something? Like, help, what should I do? And finding a very strategic, targeted focus has been a huge inspiration and very therapeutic for me as well.
I love that. That is really, really, I think, it is true, because we all get so crazy in our head with all kind of stuff going on. But when you find that niche, you find your spot, it's really super. Well, thank you. We're excited to unpack the state project and the giving circles. I think our audience is just going to be totally stoked to learn more about it. Thank you, Melissa. It's really great to see you. And we love your color. Everybody in the green room was like, going gaga over the color. It's easy. We're inspired very easily. Next up, I'd love to bring in the room, because we were talking about this last week with Antonia Scatton. And if everybody in this room probably knows her by now, but we're going to say she's a political messaging expert, communications consultant, and author of Reframing America, the newsletter. You should subscribe. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. Antonia, great. Welcome back. We're so excited. And tell us about what inspires you.
You do, actually. I mean, I don't think people have any idea how much I've spent my whole life trying to build community among political activists. Worked on campaigns my whole life, and every time there's an election, my community goes away.
Ooh, yeah,
breaks
that's
my heart. And so I'm trying to get people to keep that community together, and you've achieved that. And honest to God, that is what inspires me.
Oh, so, I love it. I love it. Happy face.
So much.
Happy face, right? Well, thank you. Because we know that talking about everybody, especially when we talk about messaging, we're going to the campaign, and boy, there's a lot to talk about, message about, current events and issues that we're tackling. This is awesome. And you're going to build that Democratic war room. We love it. So thank you. We're excited to unpack that. And let's bring up Another inspiring, if you were here last week, we are doing stuff on power packs, and that is featuring these groups. We grouped our elected by geographical areas. And so this power pack comes from Spotsylvania and Stafford area. And Joel Griffin, welcome in, and Dr. Lorita Daniels and Dr. Carol Medawar. Too many. Are you a doctor, Joel? I think you need to get your doctorate to join. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know if I can squeeze one more thing into my schedule, but obviously I am in, I'm in very good company with, with the two doctors. So
well, let me say you're in Senate District 27. This is our introduction to this wonderful power pack. So tell me, Joel, I know you're running. What inspires you right now? What makes you get out of bed to do this every morning?
I grew up in a community that was very rural, and we were responsible for each other. We were 45 minutes from a hospital. We were an hour from a city. We were, so if someone needed something, our community was who we relied on, our neighbors are who we relied on. And that's just the community that I grew up in. And that's part of the reason that I settled in Fredericksburg is that, when we were looking at a place to reside after my military service and becoming a government contractor, we wanted to have a sense of community. And we found that in this region. But my why has always been about service, and it has become much more pointed after the loss of my oldest daughter. I talk a lot about my why, and the why is making a difference in our community, doing something that matters, doing something that is of importance, and for me, that's giving back. And I've been fortunate in my career.
Right.
I've had success, but that doesn't mean that I roll up the ladder behind me. It's the opposite, that I should be extending my hand down to the next person and figuring out how can I help them achieve their goals and their dreams. And
I love it.
Really
that's a big why, and it inspires everybody in this room. And thank you for your service, by the way. And let's get to your Power Pack partners. Dr. Carol Medawar, running for school board. Tell us what inspires you.
So I think I've always been inspired by educators, and I think I wouldn't be where I am right now. I certainly wouldn't have those DR letters in front of my name if I hadn't had amazing educators all throughout my life who just kept encouraging me and kept getting me, to sort of push past where I probably should have ended up growing up in a really small town in a trailer in West Virginia. Not many, resources around me. And so I think I'm just inspired. I mean, I get to work with educators every day. And so I'm just inspired by education and educators.
Well, yes. And we will unpack that more when we interview you, but I'm going to go to the last Power Pack, the lady in purple, Dr. Lorita Daniels. You inspire me working with you on this summit and everything, to see you back here and just duking it out. We have November 7th coming our way. What inspires you, my friend? Just say it. Let's do it.
Yes. So one of the things that inspired me, I'll just go right into this, is when we can listen to the community. Mm-hmm. That to me is so important. We have children, we have adults, we have parents. Even today we talk about parents mattering, right? I believe students matter, because when we don't listen to them, we make decisions without them in the room. And so when we're able to come together with solutions for our children, that's what inspires me when it comes to understanding what they need. I am an educator. I've been in this space for a long time, over 30 plus years. So when I'm able to impart some of my learning experience into the classrooms, I think that and the little ones' eyes open up, not just the little ones, but the adults too, because sometimes we're always learning, right, as adults. Right. That's what inspires me, when we can all come together and come up with solutions that work for everyone, not particular ones, but every single child in our classrooms.
Yeah, I always like to say, it's funny how, and our later to talk. So I'm just getting excited already to talk to you, but we will unpack that. The parents matter, student matter. I always say truth matters. And let's get to it later. I'm so excited because I know this room, thank you for all being here. We'll see you in a little bit, but I know this room gets inspired every week by the guests we bring on, and I think every week featuring a power pack, the people that are in this room doing the postcards, canvassing, we need to be inspired and we need to stay in the fight. And when we hear what the candidates are doing and how they feel, I don't know about you, but it really, really makes me inspired. Last night I was listening on Nope, had an excellent program on, and they had candidate Kimberly Pope Adams down in I'm forgetting her district. So sorry. She so inspired me. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to drive down to like canvas for Kimberly. We have such great candidates. So I'm so excited. So anyways, glad you're all here. As I digress. Today, I want to say real quick, the rules of the road. See something, say something in the chat. We have a friendly chat. We also like good information. You can also tell the truth matters in there, but also it's a friendly community. So if you get a little bit out of hand, the big boss over there likes to just bounce you out. That's her job. After chat, we love the after 1 p.m. We'll have so much to talk about today. So we hope you can stick around for our guests. If you can stick around, super. We want to learn more about what you're all doing. So stick around, budget some time for that. And lastly, support the show. We have a Patreon. We have our own giving circle. And I'm so excited to say thank you to new patrons, Amy Fox. Amy Fox, if it's the Amy Fox I'm thinking of, that's the Moms Demand Action Amy Fox, or maybe not, Ann McNesh. Thank you, Ann. Thank you for giving to us. It really fills our cup and it really helps us keep the Zoom lights on. So next up, we always have a little discussion before we start the show. Today, we have a special guest who is our social media diva, Heidi Dragnet, because Fennell's on the road. So Heidi's going to come up with me, and we're going to talk about some current events and some stuff. Hey, first, I want to say a big shout out, give you props. You were interviewed in the USA Today article about the Virginia elections and some things with Biden. Giving you props, girl, for just engaging, being inspiring us all. And we just want to say, everybody, give it up for Heidi. She has been just really representing Virginia Beach and doing that work. So in general, the takeaways from that, let's talk about that why this election in 23 is so important, because talk about why it's so important leading up into the race that's going to happen in 24.
Well, because we know 2023 is kind of going to be a bellwether for 2024, right. But it's also, a really low turnout election cycle because there's nobody at the top of the ticket like Senate, governor, or president, and that's going to be next year. So it's important to build up as much infrastructure we can this year, getting involved with voters and getting them motivated to come out to vote and getting their friends and neighbors and family out to vote.
Yeah. In some context with that, like we know that what happened when we lost the seat, when Elaine Luria lost and we had the redistricting, now we have CD2 the House is all going to be up next year. We have such another big election fighting for that seat. Jen Kiggins is in it now, a Republican who is anti-abortion and amongst other things, not standing up with all the stuff that's going on and nonsense in the House. And it's really great to see, if everybody in the room haven't seen it yet, Missy has stepped up. Missy Cotter Small has stepped up. And what do you know about Missy? What is she doing right now for this election?
I know she's a veteran. I haven't had a chance to really talk to her thoroughly, so I don't know her as well as some of the others that have been in this area much longer than I have.
I canvassed.
Yeah. So you probably know a little bit more about her than I do, to be honest.
I'm saying she is a veteran, but she is standing up. And what I'm trying to say is that we're organizing right now.
Yeah. And she's ready. She's ready.
We were thinking about having our summit down there in Virginia Beach because we want to bring the heat, baby. So speaking of bringing the heat, let's talk about it. Let's talk about what's going on in Virginia Beach. There's always something going on in Virginia Beach, by the way, and from book bans to different things to parents that are so upset about the transgender issues and Youngkin's policy around that. But to start out, since we want to inspire, engage people and have some fun, Robin, let's show a little satire on book bans, and we'll see if our messaging expert likes a little satire. Go ahead, Robin, if we cue that up.
So I just seen on Fox News that they're out here trying to ban certain books, and I say good. Ban the books. Those things are dangerous. New ideas, new thoughts, alternative perspectives making me feel all uncomfortable. And God forbid somebody walks into a school with a book and they start reading out loud. Do you really want that ink on your hands? Think about how scared the children must feel when they're doing all kinds of active reader drills. Tell me that's not traumatizing. And I know what you bibliophiles are thinking. Oh, we don't need less books, we need more. The only way to stop a bad guy with a book is a good guy with a book. Well, good luck with that. Let's say somebody goes to read up a school and you think you're quick draw LeVar Burton over here, but oh no, you're fiddling with the zipper on your fanny pack and you can't get your book out. Next thing you know, the guy reads off 2 or 3 pages and you start to take in new world views and feel uncomfortable. Ban the books now. At least the autobiographical ones and the semi-autobiographical ones. It's too easy to just walk in any old book fair and walk out with the stack of them. We need background checks. What are you going to do with them books, huh? Think? I don't think so. Ban the books now. That's why I wrote a pamphlet. You can go on my website. I wrote a pamphlet. It's a couple hundred pages. It's got a binding to it, and it'll teach you everything you need to know about what to watch for when it comes to banned books.
I just have to say the absurdity what our students are dealing with, and when Dr. Lorita talked about, students matter, they do, but their mental health matters. Some of the stuff that Youngkin has done to teachers, to students, and the chaos we see at school boards sometimes really doesn't put students' mindset first. So Virginia Beach, I know you've been dealing with that. So what are your thoughts on that?
So I think that when kids don't want to tell their parents about something, it's because they don't feel safe talking to their parents. And school becomes a safe haven where teachers accept the students for who they are. They shouldn't have this responsibility of reporting every student that decides to go by a different pronoun or nickname to the principal, and then the principal having to interview the child and I think send them to a counselor is what the plan is, and then go from there and then notify the parents depending on whether or not the counselor deems it safe.
Yes. Yeah. No, I agree. I just want to bring that up. We know that so many of the book bans, and this is the thing that we are seeing going around. We're trying to help with that and definitely making, now that school's back in session, really letting kids learn, uplifting teachers, and the budget just passed. We put $650 million into education. They're excited. And Democrats have done this. Really,
raised teacher pay by 7%.
Yeah, have done this. And this is all good news, because otherwise the corporate tax cuts that Youngkin went to other people. And we said, invest in the people doing the work. So we're so excited about that. And I hope that when Joel's up there and leading in the summit, he will make sure too that this budget reflects, the things that people need in Virginia. So important. So thank you. I want to end on a fun note. We know that a lot of stuff's going on nationally. We get sort of distracted. My God, how could you not? The government shutdown threats, the inability of Republicans to really lead in that space, the chaos. And you see Mitt Romney leaving. He's like, that my party has just went on the crazy train and I'm leaving, really calling out, the lack of integrity and the ability to just really honor our Constitution. And so this party of MAGA truly is now, on a destruction course. I really believe that. And then what I want to end on a good note, though, to talk about on the national level, we talked about the Freedom Tour Kamala Harris had. Let's talk about all of the excitement that's going on for students that are greeting her. And let's not buy into the bull that Harris is not popular. She definitely is in Virginia, and Hampton proved it.
The media just doesn't feature her ever. That's why people think she's not popular.
Yeah, let's end on some fun.
Oh.
with that, I want to talk about the Giving Circles, the state project with Melissa Walker. Again, so excited when we talk about, I just like the idea of a giving circle. So why don't we start with the state's project? This room would love to learn more about that. And then let's roll it into this giving circle, what it's about.
Yeah, absolutely. So the state's project focuses on shifting the balance of power in state legislatures. We believe that state legislatures are the most important force for change in our country, and that they have been long ignored by everyone except the right wing, who has built their power in state legislatures over the past few decades. So the origin of the Giving Circles and the state's project is very intertwined, because it was actually in December of 2016 when I went to a holiday party and heard a New York State senator speak, that I started to understand that everything that I cared about and was worried about under a Trump presidency was being decided in state capitals and not Washington, D.C. And the sentence that really galvanized me that evening was, if you and your friends got together and focused on state legislatures, you could become one of the most powerful forces to flip a state chamber. And I didn't know what that meant, but I got together with some friends and started learning a lot about state legislatures and how they worked and how much they affected everything from education policy to environmental laws to healthcare to civil rights to the cores of our democracy, voting rights, and of course, gerrymandering, the drawing of the district lines that decide who goes to Congress and decide who goes back to the state legislature, and abortion, and all of these things. So once I understood how much of a power center they were, I then understood this. It is often cheaper to change the balance of power in a state chamber than it is to win a single competitive congressional seat, because congressional races cost millions and millions of dollars and state legislative races do not.
I'm going to say something to you. Yeah, nowadays they do. We see $1 million races now. So I'm not trying to take away what you're saying.
No.
I'm shocked because Nancy Morgan, who is start money out, she's one of our activists that lead that. We need to get that money out to make this really, it starts to become crazy unaffordable.
You're absolutely right. No, and it's very different state by state. You're definitely right about Virginia. Costs have really been huge, but I will say even $1 million race is not a $70 million race, which was what Beto's race in Texas was, or a $50 million race, which was what a losing race against Susan Collins looked like in 2020 with Sarah Gideon. And there are just races that go into the tens of millions. So scale wise, state leg is still a good return on investment.
I agree, and I didn't want to get off topic, but it is
no. It's important
money
to say, and it is very different state by state. You're absolutely right. But after hearing about how much impact we could have in state legislatures, I started what became the first Giving Circle with a bunch of other children's book authors. And we started gathering in living rooms, 6 people over for sushi and beer, 10 people over for pizza and wine, and discussing what we had learned about state legislatures, things like, from 2010 to 2016, Democrats lost nearly 1,000 state legislative seats as we stared at Washington, D.C. and felt good about what was happening there. And in those states where right-wing majorities took control, they made people's lives bad. They defunded education, they put in right-to-work laws, they gutted environmental protections. But people didn't say, oh, that must be my state senator and my state house rep, because most people don't know who goes to their state capital for them. And so this is an area that has operated in darkness for far too long. It's an area where the right wing has exploited power. And it's an area where if we focus on strategic tipping point seats, we can shift power back. And Virginia is an incredible example of that. The Democratic trifecta that was in place in 2020 made such huge advances for the state. And, we're just working to shift the balance of power in that direction, the direction that's trying to improve lives for people. And we do it at the State's Project with living rooms and Zoom rooms of people coming together to pool their resources to shift power in target states where we think a shift is possible. And this year for us, that's Virginia.
I love that. And let's talk a little bit about, because we're talking about I love the word doable. That's inspired me from what you guys do, and it's inspiring. And then, so tell just quickly, like, how do you make that doable? What does the state project offer when you say, it seems like you have a lot of resources to help people make that, not feel overwhelmed and actually be successful?
Yeah, absolutely. So everyone who signs up to start a giving circle gets a website where people can give donations. They get to put up their own, signage and their own description and decorate their page. And so there's a place to go, a hub, if you will, for your giving circle. And then we start sharing information. We have a lot of sample language. We have podcasts. We have videos. We have ways to tell people the story of why we're focusing on state legislatures and how strategic and impactful that can be. And then we have stories about specific states. So on our website, you'll see we have a page about Virginia and the stakes and the landscape and the opportunity. And most importantly, I think for people to be able to see their impact, just how close these races are. I mean, y'all know this better than anyone since the elections of 2017, when the majority control of the House came down to a tie in Shelley Simon's district.
Oh, I know.
A tiebreaker being pulled out of a porcelain bowl.
Yes.
This is wild. And, in 2022, the States Project was involved in 59 races that were decided by fewer than 1,000 votes.
Wow.
Most of those were wins, some were losses, but the power shifts that we saw in 2022 in Pennsylvania, in Michigan, in Minnesota were all places our giving circles were involved. And those margins in Michigan, fewer than 400 votes in each chamber decided chamber control. In Minnesota, fewer than 190 votes in the Senate decided chamber control. And in Pennsylvania, chamber control in Harrisburg was decided by 63 votes in one district.
It was small, right?
Absolutely. So what I say to every giving circle that starts is, if you want to see impact, organizing your people and bringing them together to focus on tipping point seats in these states is a way to do that.
Yeah, and so we know, especially in Virginia, it's going to be close. I think some of these races are going to be nail biters, right? So this is important. And being on calls, when we have Lindley Thorne on from Rural Ground Game, and these are rural candidates that really a couple $1,000s will make a difference. So you can make an impact really with forming a giving circle. Let's just say around a certain candidate. Is this how that's work? Get your friends together, and you guys provide the support and resources like the bank account work. Does that just go to the campaign's money? I mean, you set all that up and you help people through every step. And
yeah, I should clarify. So when folks start a giving circle, their dollars come to the States Project. And our promise is that 100% of the amount raised goes out the door to the state that you choose, the state that you designate. So we've got 70 giving circles this year designating for Virginia.
So what does that mean, the state? So where does it go to, like a campaign you identify?
We identify tipping point seats in each state. Okay. And we work with our local partners. In Virginia, that's the Virginia House Caucus and the Virginia Senate Caucus. They are exclusively focused on winning the legislature. Exactly. We partner with them and we align on targets. And then we help them run a bunch of campaign tactics and make sure that there's funding so that these races, which honestly, it's not three-dimensional chess, it's Connect Four. You need a campaign manager, you need to make sure you've got digital ads and television ads. And one of our biggest projects in Virginia actually is called the Door Knocking Challenge. Ooh. And it is a challenge to candidates to knock on doors. And by that, I don't even mean field teams. We mean the candidate themselves are knocking on doors. So the folks who are involved in our Door Knocking Challenge every month, the top 3 door knockers get additional campaign contributions.
Awesome.
It's really cool. And we've encouraged folks to start leaving something called clinch cards, which are notes that they send to voters who they've had conversations with that reflect those conversations back. The top clinch card sender each month also gets additional campaign contributions. Yeah.
That means a lot to me, because when I go knock doors, I always ask, how many doors have you knocked? Kimberly Pope Adams last night said she knocks 1,000 doors a month is her goal. She knocked 109 doors one day, all on her own. And she's a working mom, single mom. That inspired me because sometimes I show up and I feel like these people aren't knocking their doors. And then, so I love that tie to that. I love that because you've just offered so much more than I expected today about how you're working with Majority Project, how you're really helping, and then how we can start these fundraising circles, people like myself. Tell me how many are in Virginia, and then we need to wrap up.
So we've got 70 giving circles across the country working for Virginia, targeted for Virginia. We've got a few Virginia-based giving circles featured on our website. There's a link shared in the chat that are trying to get to their goals. So it's a whole community of people coming together. And what I always say about fundraising is it feels scary, but it's really made up of two things: organizing and storytelling. Getting people in a room and telling them a story. And the power of people coming together to do this is incredible. So anyone on this call who thinks, well, I couldn't raise anything, I'm going to say this: $1,000 is 40 people giving $25 each. So if you know 40 people who care about democracy, who care about what you can do, I believe you can raise $1,000. So it's just a math problem. We can do this together, and the impact is just huge.
I love it. And I love it. I love it. Thank you, Melissa. And make sure in the chat, tell people how they can get involved with you and start their giving circle. I know we have friends that have a giving circle. I want to give a shout out to Resistors Giving Circle if they're in the rooms. Thank you so much. And
I'll put them in the chat too. And one last thing I want to say for Kimberly Pope Adams, which is this: she placed third in the door knocking challenge in August. So she's definitely knocking those doors. It's incredible to see.
Who's number one?
Oh gosh, who was number one in August?
How could we forget number one? But number 3 is good.
I know, I should have named. I know that in the Senate, Russet Perry was number one in August. I'm forgetting who was number one.
It's okay. You can put it in the chat. It's okay.
I will. I'll put it in the chat. I'll do 1, 2, 3 in the chat.
I love, of course, Kimberly. She's so inspiring. Okay, thank you. And I want to shift things if I can, Robin. I'm thinking if Antonia, if it's cool with you, that I go to our power pack. This way we can really not worry about wrapping up too quick with you. Is that good for you? Give me a nod, Antonia. Yep. Okay, good. Because I hope you stay in the after chat, right? So I'd like to bring our power pack up real quick this way, because I know we really talked a lot in the beginning with them. So we want to make sure, I know they have things to do, calls to make, right, Joel? And get you back to school. And then we'll follow up with all the messaging about it. So again, we're here with the power pack from Spotsy, Stafford area, Joel Griffin, candidate for State District 27, Dr. Lorita Daniels, candidate for school board, and also Dr. Carol Medawar. I like to say that. Okay, let's talk about this race with the Senate. Again, knocking doors. I don't want to shame anybody. How are you doing on your doors? And then talk about your power pack and how you're working together. Joel, we'll start with you.
Sure. Well, I think Melissa hit on quite a few key points. Fundraising is certainly something that unfortunately is part of the mechanism for elections. We're anticipating a $5 million race.
Oh my God.
While that's a drop in the bucket to a congressional race, it's a pretty substantial amount for a state Senate race. And the reason being is that Governor Youngkin has targeted Senate District 27 and basically this entire region as one of the key pickups. Our district represents 3 winnable House seats. It represents a number of supervisor and obviously great school board candidates. So this is up and down the ballot. So this campaign is more than just about me and winning the Senate seat. It's actually about defending this region and making sure that as we look forward to 2024, we're preparing for not only setting the gubernatorial race and the presidential race in a good path, but also setting the example for the rest of the nation that equality under the law matters, that defending our schools matter, that making sure that we have an economy that works for all. Those are not just words. Those are not just comments. Unfortunately, the right wing, the faction of the Republican Party, they offer fear, And, you see that in their attack ads, you see in their character assassinations, you see that in, and what they're putting out every day. But what we're offering is the future. We have two fantastic doctors. I mean, who wouldn't want educated individuals in our schools, on our running for our school board? And so that's what I'm trying to do is the top of the ticket this year, is to draw attention to all of the great candidates and slate of candidates that we have.
Nice.
I've been married to.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I just want to give these ladies a chance too. Yes. Sorry.
No, that's fine. You go right ahead.
I'm looking at our. I want to make sure we get some of the school board in, but I appreciate you talking about that. I want to hear about your wife. Is she a teacher? I always want to finish with. Please finish.
Yeah. So my wife, I've been married to for 25 years. She taught in public schools for a number of years. Our children are products of public schools, and so we know what it's like to be in the classroom as an educator. We know what it's like to, try to meet the needs of every student. And so we're intimately familiar with that. And so that's why it's a top priority for me as part of my agenda.
Yeah, I'm glad it is, because it's truthfully the agenda that we see over trying to destroy really public education has been a wish dream of the Republican Party, unfortunately, for years, if you follow it. So this is why we have to have support. Let's talk to Carol and Lorita, just get you into this. You decided to run for school board. Why you jump in the most contentious area, and this must be something. I mean, just talk about that and talk about this race and how you're working together, Carol, and then Lorita.
Yeah, so it is so important, and I really appreciate you guys having it on, and you guys have been talking about this issue and making sure that people understand it for all along, and that's really great. I won't get into the weeds of why it's so crazy to run for school board right now. Google Spotsylvania School Board and you will find out for yourself. If you don't already know about us, as we've made national news for really unpopular things. But I think it's really important to reiterate, like, I'm running for school board, and yes, I'm an educator. I've been doing the work of schools for my entire career. I am not running for House or Senate or any of those things. That is not on my radar at all. I really care about the local aspect of this and the community. And we are talking about people's children having access to education and high quality, engaging materials, and having teachers in the classroom. And people sometimes ask me why I say the word educators, because I mean the bus driver that picks up the kids in the morning. I mean the school secretary that greets the parent when they forgot their band instrument or their tennis shoes for gym. The cafeteria lady who's making sure that they are fed, and the teachers and the administrators and every other person that is working to make sure kids have great education. And they're sort of demonizing that profession on the extreme side, the extreme right side. And it breaks my heart, because I've been in buildings and seen all the work that people do for kids. And so that is, you asked me why I'm inspired. I said I'm inspired by educators, but yes. I think I got into this race because of the attacks and this divisive rhetoric between parents and educators. And what we know is that when parents are working together with educators, that is the best for the outcome for the kid. And so it's really damaging to our community when we have that sort of divisive thing going on. But I think the other thing that I just really want to say is that it is so important, this up and down the ticket, because while we need to fix some things on our local school board for sure, and we get to allocate the money, we don't get to decide how much dollars we get. That comes from the Board of Supervisor candidate. It's your local. It also comes from the state, which is your House and Senate, candidates, because your state budget really impacts the resources that schools have. And then, you've got your, the money that comes from the Federal Department of Education as well. So it's really an up and down the ticket issue. We can't do what we need to do locally without really focusing on making sure that we have great candidates all the way up and down that are focused on public schools.
Really, that's such a really great point. So I'll jump in here, Lorita, let's hear from you. And then I'm just very excited about this Power Pack working together. Lorita, tell us what's on your mind in reaction to everything you're hearing.
Yeah, so one of the reasons, I know one of the questions was, why am I here? Why am I running for this seat again? Yes, I know we've had this crazy local school board, because I currently sit on a school board, but I'm also currently advocating for our children. I have been in this county for about 15 plus years, and I'm a mom of 3 children. One is still in the school system. He's school age. And then for me, I know the importance of our children getting a quality education. I have a child in every generation, and I have at least 2, they have taken 2 different paths, military and college. So when schools have the available resources and the funding, they can work to ensure that our children are productive and successful students in and outside of the classrooms. As we know, every child is different, and we must recognize this difference as parents and as educators. So when we say parents matter, we must also say students matter.
Mm-hmm.
I think we with this current conversation that's, of course, being promoted, we're leaving out the students out of the totality of the education system. And we know that we must engage them in a way that supports them to be successful in the classroom. So as an educator myself, I know that the school system, along with the parents, must continually be working together to ensure that we're preparing our children to be the next generation of adults who are productive and engaged members of society. So when we can have that totality, then we know we're meeting the goals that we need for our children. So one of the goals for me and our schools is to come back to being the best school district in Virginia, one of the best school districts in Virginia, where we pay our teachers what they're worth, where we partner with families to bring solutions that to help us educate their children, right? And we also want to ensure that our children feel safe and welcome in our schools. I mean, what else can we ask for when we have all that together? So for me, that's what we need to be working on. And that's why I'm still in this fight, trying to make sure that we're doing the best that we can for our children.
Yeah, thank you. And I want to tell everybody in the room that if you have the time, and please we can put stuff in the chat about that, the links. We know that there are WOFA, different groups are going down to, especially helping the district down there. There's canvassing opportunities, there's phone banking. And I'm sure for all of you, us people coming down and knocking doors for you would be welcome. And we hope you're coordinating together. Do you have one piece of literature with all of you on it, or do you have like 10?
We each have our own literature, but I will tell you that we've had a unity cause here from the word go. Immediately after the primaries, we came together in a unity event. We are handing out each other's literature. We are door knocking. We are sharing on social media. So we are working.
Well, I am telling you from an activist point of view, I was knocking doors and I had like a bag full of literature, and I said, and I've seen some where people have it all together. I'm just going to say that it's telling Democrats why it's so important to vote is really great. Have it in different languages. But when you're out there knocking doors, it's just one of those funny things. You're like, a bag full. Uh-oh, time for me that means I'm done. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so glad.
Catherine, I forgot to make one mention that Ann Holton, that's one thing that we're trying to do with Ann Holton. She's a fundraiser here in Spotsylvania County. So that is one.
Yeah, there it is. I see it in the chat.
Yes. So I just want to make that announcement.
Thank you. What's the date? Everybody could see in
September 26th.
Okay, good. Thank you so much. The rooster said it's time to wrap up. Robin gave us the rooster. That's fun. That's the first time I got the rooster in a long time. So thank you. Antonia, Scatton, let's get to it. I'm not going to even say much. I'm going to say, you've heard all these things. You listen to what people are talking about, these passionate school board people, the attack on education. And let's talk about why you're here.
Okay.
What are we going to do for Virginia? Dems fight back. Let's go.
Okay. Thanks for having me. Here to talk about Democrats Fight Back War Room. I just started for this election cycle. I'll be providing talking points and strategic messaging advice.
Yes.
And traveling around the state to provide training and support for candidates, committees, and organizations. And I'll tell you about more about that in a minute. You all know why the elections are so important for Virginia. You don't need me to tell you that. But they're important also because Virginia is a bellwether for national politics and ground zero of the culture wars. And it is here in Virginia where people like Glenn Youngkin and the Proud Moms are developing their messaging strategies as they gear up for attacks on the national level. And so we need to put an end to it right here and right now. That's where framing comes in. Framing is not just a way of developing effective language. It's a way of understanding the dynamics of the public debate such that we can avoid falling into our opponent's traps. get control of the public debate and deliver our message to persuadable voters. So why should you listen to me? Sometimes I don't want to assume you all know
you. Why should we? Tell us a little bit why.
But in my first campaign ever, 1992, I traveled all over the country and I heard regular folks everywhere spouting conservative talking points. Hang on, I got to minimize my window a little bit so I can read my notes.
Yeah, it's okay.
So and so I thought, how the heck did they do that? How did they get stuff into everybody's brains? And I spent much of my life trying to answer that question. So in addition to about 25 years of working on campaigns and with Democratic committees at every level, I've studied just about everything about how voters make decisions and what language has to do with it. So that took me to California, where I worked with the great messaging guru and the father of framing, George Lakoff. I studied the science of how language actually works in the brain and how our choice of words influences how people look at a situation, how they judge right and wrong, and what political decisions they make. So I have trained and advised all kinds of people, and now I'm partnering with the DNC's Association of State Democratic Committees to train party leaders and candidates across the country and how Democrats can fight back and take back our public debate. So how does framing work? Framing is about getting persuadable people to see and judge a situation from our point of view. So unfortunately, the human brain is more impacted by repetition than by reason. Whether you are arguing for or against something, the point of view that is the topic of the conversation is the point of view that comes to dominate persuadable voters' brains.
Interesting.
So when we explain what's wrong with Republicans' point of view, the topic of the conversation is still what? It's still Republicans' point of view, right?
Exactly.
So Republicans go out of their way to infuriate us. We think we're fighting back, but all we're really doing is helping them keep their words and ideas front and center in the minds of voters. So there's only one way to really fight back, and that is to actually play offense. So we do that by expressing our point of view, stating what we believe with moral conviction, and our goal is to provoke Republicans into arguing with us. If we can get them to talk about what's wrong with our point of view, we're winning. So because they're helping us keep our point of view front and center. So it's not about who's winning the argument, it's about whose point of view people are talking about. And here's how that plays out in the abortion debate.
I was loving for an example because I think what you're saying is so important. So thank you.
Rolling right into that. So here's how that plays out in the abortion debate. So when it comes to abortion, here's the way Republicans see it. A fetus is a person, therefore abortion is murder, and protecting the life of the fetus is the only thing that matters. So here's the way Democrats see it. In America, in a free society, we don't use people's bodies against their will. Without sole and complete authority over our own bodies, women cannot be free and equal members of society. So some Republicans are trying to push a message now that a 15-week abortion ban is a compromise position. They know that their total ban position is unpopular, and they're trying to cover what they're doing and portray us as extreme. But what's really happening is they're trying to bait us into another argument about when life begins. The problem is any debate where the topic of the debate is the fetus or when life begins, we lose. We fight back by going on offense. So we have two offense arguments. One is freedom for women and one is freedom of religion. So, we should talk more like this. Using the threat of prison to force women to carry out pregnancies against their will is a violation of our most fundamental freedom. We wouldn't dream of commandeering someone's kidney, not even to save someone else's life. You want to argue how this is different? Bring it. In any debate where the topic of the debate is people's right to bodily self-determination, we win. So when it comes to terminating a pregnancy, also the major religions have very different positions. Access to abortion means that everyone gets to live in accordance with their own religion. Criminalizing abortion is using the government to force other people to live by your religion. That's a violation of our constitutional freedom from the establishment of religion. You disagree? Again, bring it. Let's have a talk about religious freedom. And that brings us to education. So Republicans are talking about so-called violation of parents' rights, about teaching white kids that they're racist, about men competing in girl sports, about assaults in bathrooms, about grooming kids for sexual predators, about pornography in libraries. I mean, you list it up and it's like, wow, what a bunch of crazy. But needless to say, any time we spend talking about these things is time where those ludicrous claims get more public exposure. So what do we want people talking about? How about the epidemic of religious bigotry sweeping through our country? Let's talk about how it's morally wrong to tell any child that there's something wrong with them because of who they or their parents are. Let's talk about why public schools matter. We think everybody knows that, but no, we really have to talk about it. So instead of talking about children deserving a good education, let's talk about our obligation to provide a quality education for every child. It's on us. So let's talk about how public schools are the engine of equality in our society, how they take kids from all cultures and walks of life and make them into Americans by instilling in them a common set of shared American values like equality, fairness, and respect for others, and giving them a common and honest understanding of both our history and our potential as a country. So let's talk about an organized campaign by corporate interests to destroy people's faith in public schools so that they can seize control of public school budgets for private profit, and how they're bankrolling parent groups to harass teachers out of the profession with nuisance lawsuits and even threats of violence. I could go on, but that's how you fight back. So I will be providing talking points and training workshops, and we'll be coming around to different areas of the state. And I'm going to put some information in the chat about how you can learn more and where you can contact me. And also, if you are a candidate in Fairfax County Democrats is paying for you to attend my workshop. So talk to your contact at the coordinated campaign there for more information. So I'm going to put some notes in the chat, and thanks much, and I'll stick around for chat.
Catherine, you're on mute.
I am on mute. I've been talking this whole time, but like I said, it's hard to mute me. Only if I mute myself. The rooster's coming soon, but let's just say that I'm very excited that you're partnering with us. We're going to support you, and that's why you're back again, because we feel this is so important. The candidates listening intently are also listening to how we reframe. I think as activists, when we use social media, how we talk to friends, helping us reframe and understanding the power of the brain. And like you said, that idea that you just know that repeating something, that's why when you repeat, the Republicans repeat something over and over again, even if it's wrong, it sticks. But these really simple things that we know, then we can really go on the offensive. And I love it. So with that said, stay around, because we'll talk, I think in the after chat, we're going to learn more. But folks, we have somebody that's going to be with us to the end in November, to this election, to help us fight back. We love that. We'll have a war room. She'll have basic office hours, trainings, workshops. This is fantastic news. Loving it, loving it, loving it. Thank you, Antonia. You started in Fairfax, you're back in Fairfax, and we're so glad to have you. So stay with us, and we're just going to get to the wrap up now. I'm hoping I went through everything. I just want to thank all of our guests for being here. And of course, the Footloose audience. If you missed our beginning of the dancing, we certainly had a lot of fun dancing in today with Footloose. Hopefully we'll play it when we dance in the room after the after chat. Also, thank you for supporting the show. Our patrons, Amy Fox and McNesh, thank you so much for being a patron. And why not? Why not join us? Why not put a couple dollars or more into our every month, become a patron, you get a background, and also some special benefits for being a patron. You get invited to special events. So also follow us on social media. And we have the recap email that will be coming out too. So don't freak out. All these links, this great stuff you learned will be recapped and sent out to you after this program in the next couple of days. And also thank you to the team as usual, bringing it every week. We're really excited. Next week, Gloria Johnson will be with us. If you don't know who Gloria Johnson is, she's one of the Tennessee Three. She's the state rep that will be running for senator against that lady. And we're so excited to have Gloria get us pumped up for early vote. I can't go out of this room without saying, everybody, early vote starts September 22nd. Right now, you still have an opportunity to make an event. Send that event to us and we will publish it so you can have a party about early voting. You can organize at the polls on early vote. But Democrats, day one voting, we have to start now. Every Democrat in here, I want you to say to everybody, day one voting, this is how we went early voting. All right. I will see you on the other side.